Here's the best way to complete the Mount Cinder journal inside of Roblox Dig. So how this is going to work is I'm going to give you a recommended loadout for each rarity. For junk rarity, you should be using the magnet shovel. For your charms, you should be using the imp horns, the ice picks, and the cauldron hat. For the common rarity, you should be using the solstice shovel with the basic magnet, and the charms are going to be the same thing. For the unusual rarity, you can use the same thing, but myself, I use the starfire shovel. You can use the green magnets, and then the same 3 charms. For the scarce rarity, you're going to use the starfire shovel, the fortuned magnet, and for the charms, you're going to use the cauldron hat, the imp horns, and the solstice bell. For legendary, the starfire shovel, the legendary magnet is recommended, and the same 3 charms is the last. For mythics, use the starfire shovel, then you can use the magic magnet, and then for charms, use the same as the last 2. For divines, it's going to be the starfire shovel mixed with the crimson steel magnet, and also the same last 3 charms. Prismatic is also going to be the starfire shovel mixed with the same 3 charms. Now that the loadouts are out of the way, we're going to be using those loadouts for each of those rarities, and now let's go ahead and get into the best locations for every single item. So starting off with the clump of snow, there is a specific location for that. If you use the metal detector along this giant area here, you're able to find clump of snow. And then for the other 2 junk items, the icicle and the toothpaste, these are both just going to be found inside of the snow anywhere. Moving on to the common items, there's 5 for this area. So we have the block of ice starting off. This can just be found along any of the snow. And then for the beanie and snowberry, these are actually different because there are abundances. So if you come over to the spawn area where the merchant is, you can actually see the beanie abundance here just beside of the merchant campfire. And then a couple of locations for the snowberries. So one here, and then also one in this back corner beside of this lodge. And then for the popsicle and yogurt, these 2 items can just be found anywhere in the snow. Moving on to the unusual items, there's actually quite a bit for this area. So in terms of the ice pick, ice cream, old harp, and sled, there's nothing special to them. They can all be found anywhere inside of the snow or even on the rock over here. However, for the snowball unusual, this item can be found around this area. You use the metal detector. There is a green snowball abundance here. The snow cone can also be found anywhere in the snow. The thermometer is actually a little bit different. You find it inside of Glacier Hollow. Basically anywhere inside of this cave, you can just dig in the snow or even the rock and you can find this item. Moving on to the scarce items, the giant bell can be found anywhere inside of the snow. The frost lily actually has a dedicated location. If you come next to the polar bear abundance, you can see it here. The fridge is actually really common. You get a lot of these, especially when digging in the polar bear abundance. So I'd recommend just digging here. Same thing with the penguin, snowman, and snowboard found anywhere in the snow. I personally found a lot while digging in the polar bear abundance, so I'd also recommend digging there. Moving on to the legendaries, the cave painting. This one a good amount of people struggle with. So you get it from inside of Glacier Hollow. It's just going to be anywhere on the rock area. I'd recommend digging, whether that be the rock on the entrance or the rock inside, just dig there. In terms of the polar bear and the pine tree, both of these items can be found inside the polar bear abundance here. And then the emerald, you're going to have the highest chance of getting this on the rocky areas, whether that be on the stone over here climbing up the mountain or the stone once again inside of the hollow, just digging on this rock here. Next up, we have the frozen person and the jukebox. So both of these can also be found inside of the polar bear abundance here. I personally dug up the frozen person right here next to the merchant by the campfire at the start though. Moving on to the mythical items, the frost bug. You can find this anywhere in the snow area, so nothing special about it. And then we have the ice sculpture and the woolly mammoth. Both of these can be found inside of the polar bear abundance. That's where I personally got both of them. And then we have the snowflake. This is arguably one of the hardest mythicals to get. A lot of people are always questioning how to get this item. However, there honestly isn't really anything special to it. I personally got it out of the polar bear abundance, but you can get it anywhere. You can get it right here, over there, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you're using the highest luck and everything you can to increase your chances. And it also prefers rainy weather as well. So make sure you're using totems for that if you want to increase your luck even more. Moving on to the divine items, we have the icy tree. This can just be found anywhere in the area here. I would recommend digging over here in the deeper snow. And then we have the ice staff and the light plane. This ice staff can kind of be anywhere. I personally dug it up inside of the Glacier Hollow. And in terms of the light plane, some people are going to be struggling with this one. This one's going to be the hardest divine to get, and I recommend getting it in the polar bear abundance. That's where I personally got it. So just make sure you're using all of your equipment for it, and that will fully complete your Mount Cinder journal. You will get the legendary ice picks from it, which is super good for strength. If you need help with any of the other journals, make sure to subscribe with notifications on, as I'm uploading dedicated videos for each location, so it's more in-depth and you can use the best locations possible.